Okay, JC,
Yes.
I'm going to turn on the audio in three, in two, and one. Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode of Aaron's Opinion. We are joined, and we're very honored to be joined this evening by JC, also as in Visioncast with, you guessed it, JC and friends. Some of the friends are in the audience here on mute, but now we're going to talk to JC for an hour. So you know how I start these interviews. Who is JC?
Oh gosh. JC is an acronym or an abbreviation for Juan Carlos Alice. It's actually a name. I was born on August 22nd, 1991 in Puerto Rico, and my life story is pretty self-explanatory, and I'll just share the shortened version of it. Because my lungs were not developed, I had to be on all sorts of equipment to help me breathe. By the time I was 8 months old, the doctors told my mother that I was blind. The doctors also told my mother that I was never going to make it. And even though the doctors never gave my mother any hope at all, my mother, along with the rest of the family, continued to pray and ask God for healing in my life. And I can proudly say that 32 years later, yes, I'm now 32. My birthday just passed. So I'm 32 and I'm still here. I'm still alive. And as I say at the end of my story, nothing is impossible with our God. So amen to that.
Well, there you go. That's great. I think that it's really important to explain how, we're born into this world, we're thrust with all these challenges, and then it's up to us, right, to decide that we're going to overcome them. Right. All right. Well, good. So, you mentioned how you were born in Puerto Rico. So, did you grow up in Puerto Rico, by the way?
No, actually, yeah, I was born in Puerto Rico, actually, but then I moved to the States. I moved to New York. And then from New York, I went to a school, a special needs school called Lavelle School for the Blind from '01 to 2010. And then in 2010, I moved to Florida to attend the Florida School for the Deaf and the Blind in St. Augustine. And then after I graduated, which was in 2013, I went to another program called the Moreno Campus Adult Education Training Program with the hospitality program. And I completed that program and I received a front desk certification and other, certifications, including one from the American Hotel and Lodging Association, as well as front desk agent.
Interesting. Yeah, I've heard about that. I think that's a program where it's like a vocation where you learn how to work in the office of a hotel, right?
Yes,
I think
yes.
I've kind of heard of that before, actually. Hmm.
Yep, it was by a famous football player by the name of Dan Marino. He is a famous football player, and he opened a campus in Broward County, and I got into the program, and it was a fun program and fun experience. And throughout that experience, I got a chance to help out at the Homeward Suites Hotel in, calling out not calling out, but receiving calls from, hotel attendees that, want to check into their rooms and whatnot.
Right. Excellent. Yeah, that's that is really exciting for sure. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, good. Um, and so then after 2010, how long did you so did you end up working in any of these hotels though that they trained you to work in?
No, actually, it was only one because that was only one hotel I've been at, and they had me work in the back, I had to work on the phones, and they had me work on the computer where the reservation system is used. I was
Hmm.
able to install this program called JAWS, which stands for Job Access with Speech. And for those who don't know, it's a screen reader that provides access to printed material. In other words, what you hear on screen is synthesized, so it like reads like menus and dialog boxes and what have you. So I was able to navigate around the reservation system, and the instructor was able to tell me, okay, put this number in the system, put this number in, and then I would answer the phones and say, in a professional manner, I would say, hello, thank you for calling Homewood Suites. This is JC. How may I help you? And I would actually answer the phone, and, whatever message I give, for example, if there would be a ride outside, I would buzz someone on the radio and say, okay, there is a shuttle coming, passenger, whatever, XXX. And I would tell them over the radio that the shuttle is outside and someone's waiting at the hotel to be picked up by the shuttle. So.
Interesting.
Yep.
So let's go back, because you really dove all the way in, and we're kind of jumping around a lot. You said that you lived in New York for a while, and you attended a school for the blind, right? Up in New York,
I did. Yep, I did. It was actually in the BX. It was in Bronx, New York, and it's a Lavelle School for the Blind, and another school that was right next to it is the New York Institute for the Blind. And that one actually was right across from each other, because some of the students who attended the actual New York Institute also heard about Lavelle, and the both of the schools are quite essential. They're right across the block from each other, so they're not that far. So what we would actually do is, in the bus's case, I would go on the bus, they would, pick up the students, and then they would drop off the students that go to the New York Institute first, and then they would drop us off at Lavelle, which is actually across the block, not that far from the New York Institute. It's actually called the New York Institute for Special Education, mind you. Sorry to interrupt, but it's called the New York Institute for Special Education. So.
Right. So exactly what are really break down some of the experiences you had at the Lavelle School for the Blind. A good experience, bad experience, funny experience, something like that.
Could you run that question by me again? Could you repeat?
Could you tell me about some experiences you had at the Lavelle School for the Blind? Good experiences, bad experiences, funny experiences, things like that.
Everything in between. I've had the best experience, and I'll only highlight two of them, if that's okay by everybody. But
sure,
most of you, who will know me and will know me from time to time, even after this interview is over, and you guys will, bring me positive feedback and what have you, know that I'm a very encouraging and funny and well-loved guy, and I really appreciate having a lot of good feedback from all of you, especially those that love to sing and have good talents and stuff. But my experience was, pretty much in between. We had a high school band back in 05, 06. And I got a chance to write my first draft song in 05, surprisingly. And unfortunately, it never saw the light of day, because I never had equipment at the time to record. And at the time, I was using Windows, and I was using a demo version of JAWS. This was before I upgraded to a fully licensed copy in 09, 2010-ish. And I decided to write my first song. I had no experiences writing whatsoever, but it just came to my head, and I sang, "In my dreams, I became a star." And then I wrote that in boom, 5 to 10 minutes. And then during that concert, this was before the music teacher, Miss Jennifer, she was sitting right next to me. And she said, "Look at the camera. They're taking a picture." And I was like, "Look at the camera." And then I introduced my song, and they started clapping. And I said, they're not. I looked at I looked at my music teacher and I was like, they're not supposed to clap before the song starts, and they all started laughing. And I said that, and so I was like, okay, let me restart the song over. And it's just, and I don't play full keys, but I was just playing, the percussion section because I love the percussion section. I love the drums, and it's just a lot of fun to play with. And I'm not an experienced keyboardist, but I do have a good time playing it for the fun of it. So that was my overall good experience.
What about some other weird experiences at that school for the blind? I've heard a
Yikes.
lot of weird ones. Tell
Oh
us.
my, uh-oh, weird ones. Okay, I would have to say the weirdest one was when my social studies teacher asked me, because we were having fun, we were having a spelling bee, and this was probably around '05 or '06 or whatever. I don't know what time frame or time year it was, but her name is Miss Karine, and she actually is not in the school anymore. She's actually studying to become a nurse now. But she actually was so nice because she asked me to spell a word, and I couldn't for the life of me spell it, but I was the quickest speller at that time. And after I, spelled like half of the words, I got all the words correct. And she said, "What prize do you want?" I was like, I would like for you to sing for me." I was like, and she couldn't for the life of me sing a darn note. But after the fact, she started singing. I was like, "Oh, okay, she does have a good voice. Okay, that's awesome." So that was my weirdest one, but it turned out to be a delightful experience at the end. So I could not actually say that she's obviously the best, because honestly, not a lot of people are good singers, because if you sing good, then great. If you sing bad, then that's okay too. But it's all about having fun and just giving it your best. And that's why I say to everybody, it's like, hey, you don't have the talent, but you're giving it your best. So that's 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 honestly what I wanted to say. So
You're
uh,
one of these, like me, you're one of these overly honest, blunt people, you know,
yes, I am.
that that would tell someone, you don't have ability, but I'm glad you tried.
Yes, I say that to almost I say that to almost everybody under the sun. Every time I say, "Hey, can you sing? Can you sing? Can you sing?" It's like, "No, I can't. No, I can't. No." That's the question I've been asking every single person. Every time I hear them sing, I'm like, "Oh, wow, she's got a good voice or whatnot." But sometimes I'm such a ham, so but I'm a fun ham, and I do enjoy having fun and just kind of enjoying it. So
Right, right. So, what do you like to sing?
I'm actually involved with the American Council of the Blind, ACB, and they do community karaoke every Saturday nights from 8 p.m. until 10:30 or 11 if there's up to, and there's a total of 42 singers that sign up. Yes, 42 people have like signed up, and it varies from weekend to weekend, because sometimes 42, 36, 29, whatever the case may be. Usually uh it would be 32, or 11:30 it would be 11 if it's up to 42 singers, but usually it would be 30, 32, whatever the case may be, on the karaoke part. But so I sing, I record songs. In fact, if you guys look me up on YouTube, and I will give a URL out, if you don't mind, I'm going to give a URL out to my
Of
YouTube
course.
page. So you guys can go to youtube.com/@sign. That's the @ symbol, JC DJ Mac. That's JC DJ MAC. And on that page, there's a ton of covers that I've done, ranging from Heat Wave to 3 Days Grace, Nickelback, uh, all the artists that you've heard on the radio. I've done them all karaoke style. So if you go to my YouTube page, that's youtube.com/@JCDJ Mac. hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon, and check out those covers. And please rate, comment, and subscribe because it would be very helpful if you did, because I love recording covers on a frequent basis. If I don't have anything else to do apart from the Visioncast with JC and Friends podcast that I help out with the team every single week, if I'm not doing that, I sit back and I do karaoke covers on my spare time. So
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, and if you weren't doing the Visioncast podcast, then it would be then the podcast would just be called Visioncast with and Friends. So I'm glad I'm glad that you do the podcast with them so that it can be called Visioncast with JC and Friends. I don't know.
yes.
With JC sounds better. With it sounds better than with and Friends. So
Yeah, it's at least better than nothing because, like I said, myself and Preston and all the team can agree with me. I got the best team in the world, and
you really
I
do.
really enjoy it, especially. And I'm saying this for a good reason because if it had not been with this person by my side for 11 years straight, I would have not been able to have her be appointed as director and producer. So I have to say this with all sincerity because she's probably going to get emotional if I say this, or if she's in the audience right now.
She
Stay,
is and she's muted.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna say it because this is what I usually say at the end of every message, but I'm gonna say this because she's probably gonna tear up with tears of glory once I say this. Stacy, you have been the best director and producer. I'm so glad that even though we've gone through hell and high water together for 11 straight years, we have done it once again, and we will continue to be friends for as long as we can cherish our great memories. And I say this with all sincerity because when we met 11 years ago, I never thought that this friendship would last for a lifetime, and it is. And I just wanted to say, I'm proud to have you as not only a friend, not only as a great sister to me, but also a good team player of the podcast, as both a phenomenal director and producer. I love V, or should I say, we love V as a team. There's no friend above V, and we as a team will always and forever think of V with 11 golden stars, 11 smiling faces, and 11 tears of glory, and 11 hearts. So there you go. I hope she is jumping or crying tears of glory, rather. I hope she is after I said that.
Well, we don't. Well, hopefully, but we don't want too much crying on the show. We only want a little.
No. A little bit would do, but not too much.
Right.
I'm ready for the next question. I'm ready. Oh, the chat just got.
She's deeply touched, but you didn't make her cry. All right, you didn't try hard enough, JC.
Okay. At least.
Tough crowd. Tough crowd.
Man. All right. I'll let that slide. At least you were touched by that message, though.
At least she was touched. Not teared, but touched. All right.
Okay. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Another one.
Yeah. But that's all really interesting. So let's go back. You kind of dodged, you kind of ducked around the question. So I asked you what I caught that. I asked you what you like to sing for the purpose of getting you to sing for me. So what do you want to sing for me?
Oh my gosh. Oh, you're putting me on the spot.
You walked into your own traps there.
Okay. So I'm going to actually do an original. It's actually a chorus of a song that I didn't record it. I was trying to get my two cousins who I know was going to help in produce it, but unfortunately that didn't happen and they were too busy doing other side projects. So, but that's totally fine. But the gist of it is there's an old friend of the church who is no longer here. It's a church that I used to go to back in the golden glory days of living in New York, called Christ Tabernacle. They're not called Christ Tabernacle anymore. They're now called Saints Church. But before that, they were called Christ Tabernacle. And an artist by the name of Calvin Hunt. He was a great gospel legend who released a solo album called Bridges, and he also appeared as a soloist for both the Christ Tabernacle Choir as well as the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir, which is headed by pastors Jim Cymbala and Carol Cymbala. Carol Cymbala is actually the wife of Jim Cymbala, and she is the worship director who writes the majority of most of the songs that the choir has recorded. So unfortunately, he passed away, meaning Calvin. He passed away in 2009. It was in Christmas of 2009. I was still in high school around that time frame. And I wrote a beautiful song. It was on a Friday night. I was in church. I was sitting down, and it happened to be an open mic night. I sat down. I was just trying to write a song, and I was like, God, just give me a song to dedicate in honor of Calvin and his family. And then the moment flashed, and I got the song, and I went up on stage, and I held the microphone, and I said, this song is dedicated to Calvin. It's a tribute to him and his family. And I just sang it. So it was a rough demo at the time, and it did not get recorded at that point, but it's it's actually my favorite and my mom's favorite as well, because my mom loves to hear me sing that song. And I sing it to almost like mostly everybody, especially the newcomers that want to hear what songs I love doing. So I'm gonna just do the chorus of the song, and it's called "I'm Alive," and it's an original that I wrote back in 2009. And if everyone's ready for it, then
We're ready.
okay. All right. So the chorus just simply goes like this. And if I duck, then sorry, that's Soon's doing, because I don't have original sound on, but that's okay. So I'll try not to go long here. I'll try not to hold the note long for it to duck. So the chorus goes, I'm alive. It's because of your grace. I'm alive. And it's all because of your mercy. I was lost, but then you found me. It is because of your love, and I'm glad to say that I'm alive. That's just the chorus of the song that I wrote.
That's great.
There's more verses, but I don't want to keep the song too long because we got an interview to do. We got to keep rolling here, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. So
Well, there you go. Well, there you go. And that's part of the interview, is showing our artistic talent and
thank you.
things like that. That's so important. So I can tell, based on the interest and based on the team joining us here in the studio,
Right.
I can tell that this whole podcast journey means everything to you. It means a lot to me as well. It means
Right.
everything to me as well. I can tell it means a lot to you. So really, what tipped you over the edge to starting VisionCast with JC and friends? What made you want to have the courage to stand behind a microphone and tell a story to the world?
Well, as one of the founding fathers alongside Preston and the whole team, I wanted to lay the foundation where it's not just about, entertaining the crowd with, episodes that we all can listen to on a daily basis, but moreover, laying the foundation to where everybody can interact and have a good time. And when I founded the podcast and I thought of the idea, I never thought that it would actually come true until I hit up Preston and I said, hey man, remember when we used to do those podcasts on KJSC radio and Spreaker and all that? Well, I want to bring it back, but under a new name. And Preston was he couldn't say no. He just instantly said, okay, let's do it. And we just kind of kicked it off from there. We basically laid the foundation of the podcast. And before it was just myself and Preston, but then when the whole team, which included, director and producer Stacy, I at one point used to be the director, but I passed the baton gracefully over to Stacy because I knew she would, bring this podcast to a new direction under her directing slash producing control. But and then I started to, when the whole team decided to come over, I decided to, have it renamed to VisionCast with JC and Friends, and it's with the and symbol attached, because it's not just about myself, it's about everybody. It's about the whole team coming up with ideas. And, it's like I said, myself and Preston laid the foundation of the podcast. And now, since the foundation has been laid, now the podcast is moving forward under the direction of Stacy, aka Crazy Stacy 25 with a K. And we, as a team, we know how to bring the podcast into fruition, and everybody's invited. The young, the old, the newcomers, the old timers, new timers, everybody is welcome. We're not a judgment-free podcast. Everybody is more than welcome. If you could sing, if you could share your talent, if you can rap, if you have poems, anything goes, basically. Put it that way, anything goes. So
Right. Well, that's really good. That is a really valuable thing. In the future, we'll look back on this and we will realize how valuable this is for people, in the future, to have something to listen to learn from our knowledge, and to really have something positive in the world. So that's really good. Yeah. So, JC, when you come to the podcast, or when you come, or in many episodes though, do you do a lot of interviews yourself? Do you interview people who need to get the word out about something or need a platform? Do you guys do long form interviews?
we do occasionally. Sometimes we have like special people from technology manufacturers. For the VC portion, we sometimes, do interviews. A couple of examples include we interviewed Ron Miller from Freedom Scientific, now Vispero. We interviewed Atari software product manager Eric Damery, who unfortunately retired. I said retiree because he retired. He's no longer a part of the company. And we also interviewed Elizabeth Whitaker, who was a part of the blog writing on the Freedom Scientific blog, as well as the head of the training department. We also interviewed Peter Tusick, brand ambassador for Humanware, Barry Schuler from Guidelights and Gadgets. We interviewed, the first interview, actually, when we started, the first interview was my friend from Smule, and Smule is a karaoke app, by the way, for those that are curious. Nairi Agbara. Nairi is one of my good friends who is actually an excellent singer. And there's this competition that you probably heard of called The Voice on NBC. So there was this competition that one of my friends did on Smule called Smule The Voice Live. And out of all the contestants that got up to sing virtually, I, long and behold, met Nairi, and she did a song, Vision of Love by Mariah Carey. She covered it live. And when I heard it, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to find out who this person is. And so we connected on Smule. We chatted a little bit. We used to connect on Facebook, but I don't have Facebook anymore. Long story, and I won't get into that at this time. But so I met her on Smule, and then we got a chance to connect outside of Smule. I'm not on Smule anymore because, it's just, too much. I didn't want to use Smule anymore. I had no use for it after the fact. But anyways, after I met her on Smule, we got in contact, and, I check her page every now and again, and she's been posting a lot of good covers, and, she's been posting covers and joining people's songs and stuff like that. She used to join some of my songs and stuff like that, but I still appreciate her singing. And, whenever she has the time, she hops on Smule and she either joins someone or opens her own, what they call OCs, which stands for open call. So whenever she has an open call for a song cover, just most of the people on her follow page joins her. And I listen to either her singing solo or her singing duet with someone. And she actually surprised me on my 32nd birthday. I requested her to sing Maybe God's Trying to Tell You Something from Tada Vega from the movie The Color Purple. I requested her to do that, and when she called me on my birthday, she's like, well, I have a surprise for you. And then when I checked the website, I was like, you did? Maybe God's trying to tell you something. And I heard it. I was like, oh my gosh, she surprised me. So I'll never forget that. And that recording's still up, by the way, if you guys want to listen to it. You can go to smeel.com/Nyree, NYREE 24K_Butta. That's BUTTA. So yeah, that's that's a username to follow by. But yeah, that's how you can find her, and check her page out, listen to some of her covers that she's done, and you'll see why she has a great, excellent voice. So yeah.
Well, that's really good. I think it's important for you to find, for all of us to find hobbies that are of meaning and of value. For me, it's podcasting, but
Right.
for other people, it's singing, or a variety of things. But I think that's really, really nice and really good. Yeah. Um, so what are some of when you really sit down and you really think about the way that you like to engineer and structure VisionCast with JC and friends, how would you describe, the structure of your podcast?
What do you mean by
Well,
structure?
if someone was kind of on the fence about listening or not listening to VisionCast with friends, and they said, I've heard of it, but I don't really know what it is, how would you convince someone that VisionCast is worth the listen? And trust me, it is. But how would you convince someone that it's worth the listen?
It's a dose of entertainment and a dose of, fun. We try to incorporate, as Stacy and the rest of the team members said on the interview last night, we try to, incorporate, comedy, randomness, fun, tech updates if necessary, tech news, highlights, talent, in this case for Showcase 7 Live with Crazy Stacy 25 and friends. We showcase talent on that episode, and we only do that one every other Wednesday. Every other Wednesday. The first Wednesday we do our regular normal show, which is VC Lounge, and then the second Wednesday we do our Showcase 7 Live with Crazy Stacy 25 and friends episode. And it's all about having a good time, and we let people just have a good time and have some fun. And sometimes we give good clean crap, sometimes we tease people on the show, and we kind of have a good laugh. And as the old saying goes, laughter is the best medicine. So definitely, I would say, if you haven't listened to the podcast or haven't checked it out, like I said, we do interviews from time to time if necessary. We do special segments if need be, and or special randomness and what have you. And we do all those types of things. And it's nearly from 3 to 5. So it's basically a 3, 4, I would say 3 hours, I assume. Because it'll be from 3 to 5. So I think it's 3 hours. If someone on the team could correct me on that, that would be great, because I'm kind of horrible at calculating the hours on how long the
Oh, no
show is.
worries. No worries.
So if any of you are listening on
Right.
the team,
Right.
I think someone chatted.
True, Stacy. Stacy's right. So if it's that would be a 2-hour recording with
Okay,
extension
thank
sometimes.
you. I was saying 3 hours, but I meant to say 2. Thank you. See, that's why we got a great director and producer who's always good at keeping track of stuff. Thanks, Stacy, for that. I appreciate the correction there. So yeah, we go for 2 hours straight, and as Stacy said before, Donald Brown is an excellent friend
Great
of
friend.
ours.
Great friend. Absolutely.
Yes,
I interviewed, that I interviewed him actually on my own show. Yeah.
You told us that on the podcast last night. I listened to the replay after Denny, aka H Street, sent the link over to the replay, and we had Donald Brown patched in. I'm doing it from my end because our director / producer Stacy is trying to figure out how to patch in audio on her end without Zoom or the audio going down, which is a bit of a pain and a struggle to have audio being patched. But she's still trying to figure it out, but I'm sure she'll find out how to patch audio. But in the meantime, as a participant, I, ask, our director, hey, if you want me to patch in Donald, let me know. I got my mixer ready to go. I could just patch him in and we'll be ready to go. So for the time being, I'm patching him in until our director slash producer finds out a way or has figured out a way to patch in calls without having to, funnel with the extra tedious struggles on patching. So
Right, right. Well, her cable's broken, as she says.
yes, I
So
know. Yeah. You can get replacement cables on Amazon, which I have two cables. That's why I'm an audio geek, folks, and that's why I always carry. That's why I always carry a spare cable with me in case, one of the cables go awry. And I did buy a TR. Well, actually, when I got the interface, I didn't have no cable, but I bought a 2-pack TRRS to TRRS audio cable, and that means tip ring sleeve connector that connects to the phone and from the phone to the Vocaster One USB interface, and that's the interface that I'm talking through right now via the Audio Technica BPHS One broadcast stereo headset with dynamic boom microphone. And yeah, that's my audio setup. So if you're curious to know what I'm using, that's what I'm using to do this podcast, and that's what I use every Wednesday to patch in Donald or any if guests want to listen in or if they're having Zoom problems. And at one point, I even patched in George because he was having problems with his Zoom because his internet was going out, and I had to call him through his phone and through my phone, and I had to patch him in through my phone because his internet was being a total bonkers. So weird technology problems, but hey, we can overcome them.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it is very, yeah, technology can be very, very strange. I agree. Yeah. Now, have you guys interviewed now, JC, have you interviewed Donald Brown on Visioncast about his whole backstory and his whole life?
We have not. We had him on rare occasions to check us out when we and I know and I know that Stacy could elaborate on this as well or can put some corrections if need be. But when we first initially got signed to the partnership, and this was actually during my birthday because Stacy, our director slash producer, hosts the birthday bash, and it was my 32nd birthday. And when we got that announcement that we were signed to Super Kid Mix Radio, thanks to Donald Brown, Stacy sent a proposal letter to Donald asking if he would be willing enough to carry our show into the Monday night slot because there was no show on Monday nights. So when we got that surprise from yours truly, Stacy, when she announced that we would be signed to Super Hit Mix Radio, I just couldn't contain myself. I was so blown away by the reaction from not only the team, but also from everybody. And I told them, this has been the biggest, this is the biggest milestone that Visioncast has had since we first launched in 2021. And it has been a really huge victory for us, and we couldn't have done it without Stacy's help and without her convincing or sending a proposal letter to Donald for having us on the station. This would have not have happened. So, but yeah, we have
Right.
not interviewed Donald. We would love to, though. We would definitely love to interview Donald in the foreseeable future
Yeah,
on his backstory. We would love to do that. So, Stacy, if you're listening,
she
give
is.
Donald a holler because we
She
really
just
want to have.
said she says it's in the workings.
Okay, perfect.
It's
Okay,
in the works. He's had that Donald Brown, he has had quite the journey. So
yeah,
he's a character and just a great person to have around, just a great person to work with, you know. Yeah.
yeah, I can
Definitely.
tell. Yeah, I can tell. And when he was on with us, that one point when we heard the announcement, and he was on, and and Stacy tried to patch him in through her current setup, but unfortunately that didn't go well. So she had to text me the number, and I had to patch him in through my phone until her setup is fixed. Because, like you said, her cable is broke. Dang it, cable. But but it all worked out, and and he had to mute a couple of times because he was on his landline. He was doing some station stuff on his computer, and at one point he was saying, um, he said, well, actually, it was one of the other, actually, it was one of the members, Chris Duffley, who is another good friend of ours. He is a frequent participant, and he came on and he said, "Hello, high inflection eloquence," and that's like, that's because we were talking about it. He was like, "Hello, high inflection eloquence," because he had his inflection up to 100, and I'm like, okay, I would not. I mean, I would put in a high inflection now that I'm beta testing iOS and Mac OS, but I don't want to because it's going to sound pretty weird.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, it can be a lot of fun to play around with different synthesizers and things like that. That reminds me of the time that I actually interviewed Theory of a Blind Man. I've interviewed Whistler before, and we were talking. And you know who Whistler is, right?
Whistler,
Okay,
that
if you don't,
name, no, that name doesn't ring a bell.
yeah, he's out in the West Coast and he's a
Oh,
YouTuber who does a lot of live streams. He's blind like us. He does a lot of live streams and a lot of content like us. And
right, right.
he's a character. Anyway, he wrote like an action film where the voices were just synthesized speech. And like he wrote out a whole script and a whole storyline and things like that. So that can definitely be done. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, it's incredible how you can, tactile the synthesizers and use it to make it say crazy things, especially with, with old synthesizers like Deck Talk and all those other synthesizers that you get to, push letters and you get to hear it say weird things. It's kind of incredible to see that happen. I mean, we can do so now, but it's like you mentioned Whistler and how he does his creative work, and wow, it's just
Yeah, yeah,
incredible.
it was a really incredible film. Yeah, definitely. 30 minutes of just action-packed drama that he created all with synthesized speech. So that's a really cool one. Yeah, to watch a great example. And that was several years ago and I still remember how good it is.
Is it still
So,
up, by the way, or is it not up anymore?
oh, I don't know. I'd have to find it for you. If you're
I
that
doubt it. I doubt it. I don't think it's up.
No, I strongly think it is up. I strongly
Oh,
think it's up.
wow.
Strongly think it is. He keeps a lot of his content. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, all very good. All very, very good. Interesting. Yeah. So what are some creative projects that you, JC, want to embark on with VisionCast?
Um, well, right now, we're currently um on the verge of getting more interviews done for right now. I'm not sure if you heard the announcement, but next week, and I know Stacy has announced it, we're gonna have a special guest next week on the podcast next week for the VC launch. Chris, I forgot his last name. She mentioned it. Chris, um, the guy that shared the inspirational story.
Oh, from my show, from my
Yeah,
side,
yeah,
Chris
yeah.
Chris Carroll.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. He's going to be on next week. So we're super stoked. We're super excited to have him on next week. And it's very exciting because, his story, as Stacy said, it's inspirational, and we cannot wait to have her on. And she said that his schedule is open for next week. So next week's our usual um showcase episode, but then next week for the at least the first hour, we're gonna have Chris Carroll on, and we're gonna have him share his inspirational story with us, and we're just looking forward to having him on. We cannot wait. We're so stoked, and we're looking forward to having him. And we're just and what we're also working on too is Sometimes we have the ability to talk over people. We're trying not to kind of cross-talk over each other, especially when people have a chance to say something. Because even I, for one, start talking, and if someone talks, you have to say, okay, someone was trying to talk first, go ahead. And we're trying to work
Yeah.
on that.
It's
And
hard.
I'm it's
Almost
hard.
it's
Yeah.
almost impossible with a group this large. I mean, we
Yeah.
were doing it to each other. We were doing it to each other all night last night, talking over each other and having to.
Yeah.
It's really hard to tell when to jump in. It's almost impossible to tell. Yeah.
Especially with Zoom with the ducking, because sometimes when you speak, it drowns out the audio in Zoom, and you have to go either close to the microphone, you have to wait till that person's done talking, and then you start talking, and then you would say, okay, or else people will be talking over each other. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Can one at a time speak? Jeez.
Yeah, it's tricky. You have to practice doing it, and then you have to practice interjecting, and
Yeah.
it's a lot to practice for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a lot harder, but we're working on it. We're trying to work on it, even the whole team is working on it. And and as as the frequent participant, and Stacy is the producer and director as she is, we're actually going to start a committee meeting every month this Thursday, and it's basically to gather ideas. So even though I won't be a part of the meeting, it is optional for anyone to join, but this meeting is specifically for team ideas and what have you. So this is it's a monthly thing, but we had it on hold because, I had to appoint Stacy as director. And this was actually before I left to Nauvoo, Alabama, because when I went to, there's this camp that I went to called Hope Heals Camp, and it's a camp for people with disabilities. And they have, you get assigned a care, uh, a compassionate companion, also known as CC, and you get to do activities. There's activities for adults and activities for teens, and you get to do like live worship. And anyhow, so when I was in Alabama, Stacy, who was the producer, took over because I was still the director. But now that I'm not the director anymore, and I passed the baton over to Stacy, now that she's the sole director and producer, she'll be able to put the podcast in a new direction and bring it to a new kind of format, and keep the same vibe alive, and just kind of keep the vibe going, and just kind of keep the vibe going. So with the team meetings that will be every month starting this Thursday, the team's going to bring ideas to the table, and she is going to write out an agenda which will be sent out to the mailing list. And yes, we do have a mailing list, so if anyone wants to subscribe to the mailing list, you can send a blank email to vision-cast plus subscribe at groups.io. That's VISION-CAST plus, and that's the plus symbol, subscribe at groups.io. When you send that email, you'll get an audible notification to confirm your subscription. Hit reply. Once you type in yes, we will get an email notifying you that you have been subscribed, and you'll receive email updates. Either myself as a frequent participant or the director/producer, Stacy, will send an email letting us know what's happening, what went on the agenda, what's new, what new episodes are coming out, and all that sort of thing. So that's a great way to keep you guys informed and in the loop on what's happening. And
Yeah, you're very knowledgeable. I can tell you're really passionate about that email thing. Your script for that is really good. I also have one for Aaron's opinion. I have an email list too. But I've noticed funny thing about it. I've noticed that you'd be surprised, JC. A lot of people are not interested in joining email lists. That's quite a common thing.
Oh, wow. Yeah, a lot of people, I mean, yeah, a lot of people are not fans of mailing lists. I mean, I'm subscribed to that particular mailing list because I do receive emails from Stacy, the producer/director, and with this new committee meeting happening every month now and receiving updates on what's going to happen with the podcast, what the direction's going to go in, what plans are on the agenda, then I will know exactly what's happening. And if there's anything that I need to agree on, even if I'm not there at the meeting, I will definitely say, okay, that's a great idea, or maybe. Because I always have the tendency to say no to everything. Like whenever mom asks me to go out, mom says, "Do you want to go out?" I'm like, no, no, no. So but yeah, sometimes I have the tendency to say, because my answer is always no to everything. Like if she says, "Do you want to go out walking with me?" Like, no. So
Well, then what made you want to come to this podcast? Because I asked you if you wanted to come, and why didn't you just say, yeah, no? What made you come to this podcast then?
I did say yes. So but no, I know you're just throwing a tease ball at me. I know you're just doing that.
I'm just putting you on the spot. I mean, you could have said, no. But what?
Yeah, but I did say yes. I did say it
Right,
because
but I'm curious. You could have said no, like you say no to everything. No's your favorite word. What I'm intrigued by you now, JC, as if I wasn't already intrigued before. What made you? What you are quite the character. What made you? Okay, you're right. So right. So what tipped you over the edge and made you want to come to my podcast in the first place? By the way.
what tipped me? Just the interaction with people, the
Yeah.
interaction and making sure that, people have a podcast they want to listen to every single week when we, because editing is hard work for the, team that are on the editing side. Denise, who just actually did her first job at editing, actually, as of last weekend, she did her first official job as editing. And, Denny and Stacy, the producer slash director, mind you, you know, we have a team of people that do such a great job, not only on the front line, but also on the back line, whether it's editing or putting the show up, putting the episodes up for distribution later. We always have, a good time. And as I said before, it's all about having a good time and all about, fun times, because, it's, because sometimes we don't want to take these opportunities for granted because,
Definitely not. Definitely
once
not.
you go into, like, for example, if you go and you're asked, oh, do you want to be interviewed for a once in a lifetime commercial or whatever, you just got to say yes. You can't always say no to everything. You just got to say, or if you want to try something and you haven't even tried it yet, if you say no, how come you say no when you haven't even tried what you want to try? It doesn't hurt if you want to try it. So
Yeah, absolutely. Believe it or not, JC, we have less than 10 minutes left.
right.
Like every hour just flies by because I'm blessed with wonderful people to talk to for an hour, and you've done
I
a
know.
great job. We've covered everything. Right. Yeah. So I'm sure, JC, you have some questions for Aaron Richmond and Aaron's opinion.
Yes.
What do you really want to know about me? What do you really want to know about me to really make me sweat to see if I'm worth my salt as a podcaster?
Okay. Okay. So let me throw some questions at you now. So just like my podcast, what pushed you over the edge in making Aaron's opinion? What pushed you over the edge for your podcast?
Well, I was saying so last night, I was working during the pandemic, and I'm still working now, but I noticed that during the time when I wasn't teaching students, I was spending a lot of time listening to various podcasts around the blindness space. However, I noticed that although there's a lot of great podcasts, many of them are not open to my opinions. And I have a lot of opinions that I want to share with the world. And so because of that, I started to answer people's questions on Facebook groups. Blind people would ask a question about, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And what I would do is I would create an audio file, a voice memo, and I would say, hello, so-and-so. Today I'm going to answer your question. And then over time, those memos turned into the podcast. So that's what pushed me over the edge, was that I saw that people need this knowledge and need this information.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible. Wow.
Well, thank you. And it's true. It's incredible and true.
Yeah, it's really awesome. It's kind of similar to what we do, because when I initially started it, we tried so many different platforms, and Stacy can agree with me on this. We used Zoom. We did use Backpack Studio at one point,
Oh,
which
I
is
love that.
absolutely, yes, it's absolutely the best. But the thing about that is that you have to send a link every single time, and not a lot of people have iPhones or iPads or whatever, and they don't have the amount of money to spend on an app that just is not useless for everybody. It's gonna be just useless if you have an app and you want to say, oh, okay, everybody go to Backpack Studio, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of crazy. But we tried that for I think couple of months or so. I'm not sure. I think we started testing it in 2021 or so. And although we loved it, we kind of thought, nah, it's not gonna work. But with Zoom, and everybody on the team can agree with me on this, Zoom is cross-platform. Everybody has Zoom. A lot of people use it for their teleconferencing, especially during the pandemic. Everybody has used it for classes and meetings and what have you. So we decided to stick with Zoom, and we did want to use initially TeamSpeak and another web service called CleanFeed. I'm not sure you guys heard about that,
I've heard
but
of it.
it's okay. Yeah, so it's a wonderful service. Um, we were going to initially use that, but again, that requires you to send an invite link every time for, guests. Even though guests don't have to have an account, you as the host have to have an account to host them. And even though the quality is excellent, and the quality is excellent by no means, no questions asked, we want to kind of, and now with the mixer, and it has actually 2 stereo loopback channels. So what I could have done is, if Donald Brown would have wanted to, he would have used CleanFeed. I would have patched him into CleanFeed via Zoom using the 2 loopback channels on my mixer virtually. And, I would just, call it a day and have people listen in. But the thing is, I would have to route VoiceOver to the headphones and what have you, and not to the mixer. Otherwise, they would hear VoiceOver, they would hear the system speech and what have you. But it can be done. It can be done. You just have to, tinker some, a little bit of settings, and just hope and pray that, it doesn't, have a tech freeze or something like that. But it can be done.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Good.
but we started using Zoom. We're using Zoom for the foreseeable future, and we will continue to use Zoom. And as I said in the messages that I've been sending, we do use also Audio Hijack on Denise's and Stacy's end, because they're both they're both producers of the show, in addition to Stacy being the director. Denise is not the producer. Denise is the producer. Excuse me, Denise is the producer, but Denise is not the director. Stacy is both a producer and director. I'm saying that a bunch of times. Otherwise, if I don't say it, that she's not the director, she'll get mad at me. No, I'm just kidding. We love you, Stacy. But in all seriousness, we do use Audio Hijack, but only for like stereo recordings, because Denise also has a keyboard. So she uses the keyboard to play certain notes or do musical bits, or as we call them at the end of our show, we do this thing called singable shoutouts, where instead of saying the shoutouts, we sing the shoutouts. And it's been a lot of fun. So that's why we use Audio Hijack to record in stereo. So, and it takes the guesswork out of it, because Stacy has a session created, so that whenever she wants to record the podcast episode, all she has to do is load it in Audio Hijack, and it's good to go. But we also use Zoom as a backup. We record as a backup on Zoom in case things go awry with Audio Hijack, or in case something doesn't work right, or if our setup's incorrect on the Audio Hijack end, we use Zoom as a backup as well. So, a lot of work, but I love it.
Well, good. So good. So good. So you say that you sing a shout out. So what would it sound like if you were singing a shout out for Aaron's opinion?
Oh no. We instead of saying the shout out, I would we would basically sing shout out to Aaron and the whole team. That would be like that. Instead of, saying shout out to Aaron and the whole team, it would actually sing shout out to Aaron and the team instead. So that's just a little ditty. If you guys heard the audio duck, sorry about that. I don't have original sound on, and there's a reason for that. But yeah. So
No problem. No problem at all.
it's my audio interface. Basically, to keep it short, Zoom keeps doing weird things, and with original sound on, the audio gets soft. And it used to be where the audio wouldn't get soft, but every time Zoom releases an update, every time they fix one thing, they mess up another thing. So unfortunately, with the original sound for musicians option on, it unfortunately softens the audio, and the only way around it is to either use loopback from Rogue Amoeba, which cost money. I'm not gonna deal with that, so I'm just gonna keep the original sound and Zoom background noise, Zoom software background noise removal on, because that's how I've always had it, and I'll keep it as default, and I'm not going to change anything, because if I do, then you guys are going to hear me soft, and you guys will have to turn up the headphones, which will not be a good sign. So that's in a nutshell why I'm not using original sound for my audio interface until either Zoom gets their butt in gear or Focusrite, which is the manufacturer of the Vocaster hub, and the Vocaster interface get their butts in gear, whatever works first. So
Right, right. Well, that is really, really all very interesting. Super, super, super good. Well, we're out of time on the hour. You did, JC, you did a great job. I'm going to open the other microphones up, and before I do, I'm going to allow each of you in the audience to ask one question or to make one statement, one or the other. But we're going to keep it short and sweet. All right.
yeah, I mean, I'm here. If any of y'all want to ask a question, go ahead and do so, but don't make the question long because we want to wrap things up.
So let's see who has a statement or a question that they want to make.
Hey, it's Denny from the podcast.
Denny!
Yep. Yeah, I've
My
been in
longtime
the
high school friend, brother.
yep. I've been in the chat. Just yeah, providing
You've just
information as well. So
you've just
yeah,
you've just been coasting. So he was
yeah.
muted. Do you
Yep.
have do you have one question or one comment?
No, I was just saying. Yeah, we we from the team. Yeah, we got your back, bro. And wow, great interview.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Yeah, Denny and I have been friends for a long time. We were actually roommates, if you remembered from the episode from last night on the podcast that the whole team was on. Denny mentioned that me and him were roommates, and we're still brothers. So we sing together like brothers, and we respect together like brothers. So so
Great. Well, Denny, good to have you here as always. All right. Okay. Let's see. I wonder, does George have anything to add? Let's see. I just unmuted George. Hopefully he'll come by and say something here. And we'll let Stacy make a comment too. I'm sure she will.
Oh, there we
All
go.
right.
oh, there you go.
George, go.
Yes,
Do you
I
have,
just want to say,
go ahead, George. Do you have a question?
yes, I just want to tell JC, you're a great friend, keep up the great work, and you're doing great. And just keep positive, like always. And you're an amazing friend.
Oh, thank you so much.
That's excellent, George. Thank you so much. All right.
Glad I
All
was
right.
able to patch you in when I can. So if you need me to patch you in, brother, just let me know and I'll do
Thanks
it.
so much. You're awesome.
Thanks, man.
And I'm sure Stacy has a statement.
Of course I do. I've been best friends for
There's the-
11 years.
Yes. How could you let a producer
How could
slash
I not have
director?
a statement?
Yes.
Well, JC, thanks so much for the credit and the shout outs. And I did want to let everybody know that Denny and Denise are on the post-production side. We are a great team. JC, you're a great friend, and I love you very much. And thanks so much for the shout out and the mention.
Oh, you're welcome. And we'll definitely have to do some more, especially we have to bring back the old time music mashup with JC and Stacy.
Definitely.
We have to bring that back.
Definitely.
All right. All right, JC. Well, thank you for joining me on the interview tonight. You did a great job. As I like to say, dittos to you, man. Ditto Vision Cast with JC and friends. And now we know who JC is. So ditto to you all, and thank you so much. All right, then. So who wants to tell me how I end an audio recording here on Aaron's Opinion? What is my, JC, do you know what my slogan is?
I know it if you don't.
I don't actually.
Good thing you
remember.
have we have our great producer over there, Stacy.
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead, Stacy. Go ahead.
Help one person today, help a million people tomorrow.
Woo!
You got it. If you're still watching on YouTube, don't forget to like it if you like it. Comment below, share it, subscribe it, tickle that bell notification to know the next time we go live here on Aaron's Opinion. I want to say to JC, thank you. Have a very good evening. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great. Stacy, you too. George, you too. Denny, you too. Anyone else out there in the universe who joined us tonight, who's watching, keep up all your great work, and we'll stay in touch over the WhatsApp. All right. Again, another exciting episode of Aaron's Opinion, Ditto Vision Cast with JC and friends. We'll talk to you guys soon. Take care, everyone, and we'll talk soon. And stay safe out there and